If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that we're in my bedroom today. This is very much still a travel podcast. We are not going down that route because my house, for some reason, has very inappropriately placed sockets. If you know me personally, this is exactly the kind of situation that really gets me because I feel like I've been ranting recently. Maybe you're into that. I want to talk about my favourite 7 places in Malaga. It's hard to describe them without saying the word breasts. Hello and welcome back to another episode of These Corners of the World Travel Podcast. I'm your host, Kelly O'Brien. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that we're in my bedroom today. This is very much still a travel podcast. We are not going down that route, but I have a very tight time frame between now and my volleyball game, and my laptop is dying. And this is where the charger is because my house, for some reason, has very inappropriately placed sockets. Anyway, I have a small update for you guys. It's not very much of an update, but it's more of what I've done since. Last week we talked about the fact that my travel plans were, I won't go through the whole thing again, you can listen back to it, but basically there was a flight delay, and a certain airline refused to deal with it, basically. Had a connecting flight, both with the same airline. There was a delay on the first flight, fair enough, things happen, and was stuck in Paris overnight because the airline refused to help in any way or get accommodation for the night or to even rebook the connecting flight. And I checked and was 100% sure I was due, the compensation under the EU regulations, and applied for it, and they denied it. So the update is that I went to a third party because I thought, look, I really don't want to let them get away with this because it's not cool what they did, but also I don't really have the time to go chasing them, especially when they've, declined it again and again. Not again and again, just once. And I thought they would decline again and again, and I would keep chasing them. So I thought, okay, look, I'll go to a third party because there are these services that they say if you have a flight delay and you're due compensation, you can, plug in your details with us. We'll chase it. And then they take a hefty cut. So usually I wouldn't use them because I can fill in the forms myself. It doesn't take that long. But I figured, look, if I just get someone else to do it, I don't mind paying them the cut in this instance because I don't really care about the money. I care about the principle of the airline just being able to mess people around and not have any, getting away with that, basically. So I went to a third-party website, and they said, after I put in all of the details and, everything, and I quote, and I'm quoting this because I don't want to get sued, but it said, based on our previous experience with this airline and jurisdiction, passengers are unlikely to receive compensation even when they are eligible for it. We're fighting to change the situation, but for now we can't take your case. So basically, the airline is known for not giving compensation even when it's you're eligible. Cannot speak today. Even when you're eligible for it. And that, if you know me personally, this is exactly the kind of situation that really gets me. Like, it's just the injustice of it all. I couldn't care less about the money now at this stage. But because I read that, I am absolutely not letting this go. So I've escalated everything to here. I have gone and found, what is the name of it? AESA, basically the Spanish Aviation Authority, and I'm jumping through a few hoops with them, and they'll eventually make a decision, and that will be binding to the airline, which is, I left in Spain, so it's covered under the Spanish Aviation Authority. It depends where the flight that was affected, where it left from. not, the nationality of the airline. So the airline wasn't Ryanair, but just for an example, let's say Ryanair flew from Madrid to somewhere else, then it would be under the Spanish Aviation Authority, even though Ryanair is an Irish airline. But like I said, this wasn't with Ryanair. They have nothing to do with it. That's just an example. Don't sue me. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about something a bit more specifically destination related and more positive, because I feel like I've been ranting recently, which is fine. Maybe you're into that. I certainly am. But this is a travel podcast after all, so I better talk about some destinations. I was maybe a bit reluctant to start talking about this because I think I might have to do some editing magic here. Like, I want to talk about my favorite 7 places in Malaga. And I feel like I can't just, talk on about it. I mean, I could, but like, you'll want to see the places, right? So I'm going to try and do some magic afterwards and see if I can, put like a photo of the place I'm talking about, maybe over the entire screen or like in a corner somewhere, and jazz it up. I don't know how to do that. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. We will see. But if I tie myself into it, it will happen because I'll have to figure it out. So, why am I talking about Malaga? Well, I have lived in Malaga for 2 different times. The first time I came here, I went on a workaway project. I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but basically it's a service, a website that you pay a membership to, and you can view listings, I guess. They're job postings, but the thing is you don't get paid for them. You get free board and accommodation. So, free room and board. So you get a place to sleep and you get food. Sometimes it depends on the listing, but basically it's kind of an exchange. It's not for money typically. Some places might give some bonuses or something, but usually not. So what I did years ago now is I went to a place called Via Malaga, which I think is closed down now. It closed down, I think, during the pandemic. But it was a beautiful, beautiful villa, many bedrooms on the top of this like beautiful cliff overlooking the sea, just off of the Gibralfaro mountain in the center, basically, not in the center, but in Malaga city. And it was just an amazing experience. I was there with about 7 other people. There was around 7 other people always, but like some left, some new ones came in, and we all basically lived in the basement for a couple of months as little elves, staff elves. And we would, I'm not sure how much it was a day in terms of workload. I think it was maybe 4-5 hours of work a day for maybe 4 days a week, something like that. And you got accommodation every night, and there was a kind of a food situation thing as well, where we would make each other food, but with the groceries bought by the villa. It was kind of like a hotel B&B type thing. It was really, really cool. I didn't speak a word of Spanish, and I got a bit homesick. I had been traveling a while before that. Long story short, I left after a couple of months and, went somewhere else. I came back to Malaga, maybe, was it a year or 2 after that? And basically lived here for a longer period. And I'm not sure if I'll continue to live here or what the situation is. I've gone and come back a few times, but basically a few years I've lived in Malaga. So I wanted it to be my first, destination type thing on this podcast, because it's a city I really, really love. And I feel like I've seen every inch of it now, though it does continue to surprise me every so often. I think in the future I will talk about, some day trips you can do from Malaga. I don't know why my nose is so itchy today. My mother used to say that that's a sign you're going to fight with someone. So hopefully I'm not going to have a fight at volleyball later. But basically, without further ado, I want to give you my favorite 7 places in Malaga. 7 because I read somewhere that people prefer odd numbers when it comes to lists. So it was either 7 or 9. So I went with 7 because I like that number. There you go. So number 7, unsurprisingly, I think to a lot of people, play beach volleyball. This isn't going to be for everyone, hence why I put it number 7. You can find beach volleyball games all over Malaga throughout the entire year. And it is so much fun. And people are usually like very receptive to beginners. Once it's the like a specific meetup for, people to come, not like a group of friends. Like I wouldn't suggest going up to people who are already playing, for example, and trying to get in those games, because I have a game every week, sometimes twice a week, and that's a very specific group of friends, and we like to play together, and we have a very specific number of sign-ups every week because we don't want anyone to be sitting out too many games and getting cold and having to warm up again. So we do get a lot of people coming up like just randomly saying, hey guys, can we play with you? And we used to say, yeah, sure, no problem. But then the regulars, were sitting out a couple of games in a row because it was too many, you can't just shove a load of people on the volleyball court. It has to be a set number of people playing, right? And then also like sometimes the level was really, really poor. So it was not like at the level that we would have preferred to play at, which is fine. Everyone has to start somewhere, but it wasn't the right thing to do. So now we've started to say, sorry, like we're full, feels kind of bad to say it. I do feel mean because I would like, to be like, yeah, everyone play. But it was a total disaster when we did do it that way. So we've changed it. There are a ton of meetup.com volleyball groups that meet, and they're like, everybody come, all levels, we'll figure it out. And there's also a hostel run volleyball meetup I think it's Friday. They use a WhatsApp group to organize it. That's quite beginner level, so that one might be suitable for someone traveling who's never played before. The meetup.com ones might be suitable for someone traveling here who has maybe a bit of experience. Also beginners, but also if you have experience, you might not want to go to the hostel one, for example. I think that I will write all of this up in a blog post and maybe link it in the description so that you can see. I can link the specific meetup.com, for example, link the specific Google map links to places I'm talking about. So I'll check out the description and you'll probably find some resources there. Again, tying myself into this so that I have to do it and it will get done. So that's number 7. I will say this, don't dive onto the beach in Malaga if you're playing beach volleyball, because you are going to cut up your legs. It is the number one thing I see new people doing. They will just be bleeding from the legs. One guy needed stitches. It's like I don't want to put anybody off, but it's not the most pristine beach in the world, and there are a lot of broken shells. There's not much, trash in terms of like glass and stuff. The odd time, if it's after like a beach related party, like sometimes there's parties on the beach for is it San Miguel? San Juan, the night of San Juan, people party on the beach and just ahead of the feria every year. So maybe the morning or a day or two after that, there might be some broken bottle glass type thing, but usually it's not that. But the shells are quite sharp. So no diving on the beach, and, take direction, I guess, from people who've played before, because there are certain things. Last week, for example, a guy tried to play with his shoes on and we were like, no. And he was like, oh no, but I'm fine. And we were like, well, it's not for you, it's for everybody else. If you kick someone when you're jumping for the ball or something, you could hurt someone else. So he was like, oh, okay. So just be receptive when people tell you safety things like that. I'm going to push on to number 6. My 6th favorite thing to do in Malaga is to eat at Casa Lola. This is like going to be on so many things you're reading about Malaga, like where to go, what to see, what to do, where to eat. Casa Lola is probably always roughly around the top of those lists, but it's like for such a good reason. It's an amazing place. It's one of the first places I went when I came to Malaga, and it's just very traditional and tasty and not expensive at all. The only downside of Casa Lola is that often there will be a huge queue because they don't take reservations. It's just walk-ins, and the staff are not very they don't want to hurry people, which is nice when you go and you sit down. Like, you feel like you have all the time of the world and you're not being rushed. But as a person waiting outside trying to get in, you can see people who have finished their meals probably a while ago and they're just sitting talking, and it's like, ugh, I'm just waiting here. So that can be an issue. But if you go when there's not peak times or not peak days, for example, if you go at like 9 p.m. on a Saturday night, good luck. Like, you're not gonna get in without waiting in a queue for a long time, I would say. But if you go maybe on a Monday at like 5 or 6 p.m., yeah, you'll probably be shown to a table right away. Totally fine. The best thing to get is patatas bravas. It's like these chunky potato wedges in this spicy kind of sauce, and it is just to die for. They also have a good Russian salad, and they're croquettes. I don't really like croquettes, to be honest, but they have croquettes that apparently people rave about, so do try those as well. There's 4 different Casa Lolas throughout the entire city of Malaga. One of them is on Calle Granada, and that is like the oldest, most traditional one. Then there's Calle Strachan, which is also quite traditional. And then you have the 2 across from each other. They often kind of collaborate with the same line, and you don't know which one you're going to, basically. And it's in Plaza Uncibay. And that is the least traditional, only because most of its space is outdoor space, whereas the other ones are indoor mostly. And there's like quirky old Spanish things on the wall and stuff, like from olden days, and like bullfights, which obviously I don't agree with bullfights and bullfighting, all that kind of stuff. But there are like certain, old posters to do with that and things. So it is quite a cool place to go, basically, and eat. And it's not expensive. Yeah, basically that's number 6. Number 5 is one that I'm not sure if many travelers to Malaga would think about necessarily, but it's the Hammam Al Andalus. It is a spa, but it's mostly like a bathhouse, and it's honestly just the most magical place. And I go there, it's like my treat to myself, because it is kind of expensive, but it is so worth it. I go there probably every 2 months or so. It's this kind of Moroccan Arabic decor, and there's 3 different pools of different temperatures. Like, there's a cold plunge, there's a medium hot one, and then there's a hot one. There's a big stone which is heated that you can lie on, and there's a steam room. There's no sauna because it is a hammam, which is, I think it comes from Turkey originally, like the concept. So, saunas are more like Nordic, right? So there's no sauna. It's more like of a wet heat type of thing. They do also offer massages. So when you go to their website, again, I'll probably link it in this description somewhere and also in a blog post somewhere. They do offer like various different price points. As a resident, you can get a discount if you have a residency card in Malaga. So I would pay, I think it's €45 for an hour and a half, which usually includes not only the circuit of the pools and also a 15-minute massage, basically. But you can have other treatments and also longer massages or no massage. Yeah, I would advise everyone to go because it's so relaxing, and they have like very late at night ones as well. So you could go in at like, I think the latest they have is midnight on a weekend, which is pretty cool, to go and just know that it's midnight and be like floating around this very dimly lit place. And yeah, it's really cool. Check it out. Number 4 is the rooftop of the AC Marriott Palacio Hotel. This may sound not very adventurous, go to a hotel bar, but it is the best view without having to walk because I'll tell you the other one in a minute. But if you don't want to hike anywhere, this is the best view you will get of the entire city of Malaga. You can even see Antonio Banderas's house from here. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not. Perhaps not. I won't give coordinates to that. You can't see it very, very well. You can kind of just about make it out. Anyway, you go to the AC Marriott Palacio and you go through reception. There's elevators and you go all the way to the top. Sometimes there's a queue at the bottom. So for example, like I said before, Saturday night, 7 p.m. or even 5 p.m. because people want to watch the sunset, you probably will have to wait in the queue for between 15 and 45 minutes. But if you go at a time that's not, peak, then you can just go straight in. Sometimes if there's special events, you'll have a person in the reception selling tickets. So you'll have to pay to get to the rooftop. But usually this ticket includes, a drink at the top. So you're really only paying for a drinks voucher. And other times there's no one at the reception and you can just go straight up. You get to the roof anyway, no matter which way whether you've paid or not paid. And you probably buy a drink. I don't drink alcohol. I think I mentioned in a different podcast. You can listen to that later. But they do good mocktails as well. They do, finger food as well. The finger food's quite pricey. So I usually only get, a mocktail. And you can walk around. I think it's pretty much 360. If it's not 360 exactly, it's pretty almost 360. And so you can see from one side of it, the bell tower of the cathedral, really close up, which is really cool. And then the whole way around it, you can see, the city, and then you can see the port and all the palm trees along the avenue and the water, of course. And then you can see the mountain, the Gibralfaro, off on the other side. So it's a really good view. Very good at sunset and at night and during the day, to be honest. So if you want to go back a few times, I would even recommend that because it's different at each time of the day. So yeah. Number 3, that was 4, wasn't it? Yeah, number 3, the Alcazaba. Basically, the Alcazaba is a beautiful multi-leveled garden. So it's beside the Roman Theatre, which has, all these steps that you can see. You'll see it. It's one of the main places you end up basically when you go to Malaga. And the Roman Theatre is beautiful to look at. And I didn't include it in this list because you'll see it anyway. And also you don't really go into it, you just kind of see it, take a photo, and you're like, oh, cool, lovely, done. But the Alcazaba, the entrance is around the side of the Roman Theatre, and you go up these steps and you there is an entrance, there is a fee. I can't remember how much it is. I'll put it in the description, but it's free on Sunday after 2 p.m. 2 p.m. or 3 p.m., something like that. I'll find out and link it directly. But you go in and you either pay, or if it's Sunday after 2, you don't pay. And it's like all these steps that go up and you're on different levels, and it's just different gardens. And it sounds, to be honest, now that I'm saying it, it kind of sounds a bit boring, like something my grandmother would love to have gone to, but it's just really cool and really authentic. The walls are very, old medieval, is it medieval or Roman era castle walls? And it's very Andalusian. It's a Moorish gardens, and it's just really beautiful. I can't even really, I feel like I'm not doing it justice. Maybe I should have prepared for this beforehand, but it is generally one of the most aesthetic places in Malaga, and one of the most unique as well. And because there's different levels, you do get some good views over the city as well. Not as good as the cathedral, I would say, but different. You can also there's a really nice part of the garden where you look through one of these long windows, and there's all brick around the window, and you can see a really good view straight of the bell tower of the cathedral. And it's just a perfect picture to take, framed by this, brick window. And I still look at that photo actually ever so often, and I think it's just beautiful, especially at sunset. It's a very romantic place, I would say, to go. Or if you're wanting to take any type of photo shoot, maybe it's your birthday, or when my friend Jessie had her baby, we went there as part of a photo shoot with her baby, a newborn photo shoot thing. Well, he was more than a newborn at that stage, but we kind of kept putting it off. So it was supposed to be a newborn photo shoot, but I think he was 6 months by the time we got around to it. Anyway, it's a really beautiful place. Do check it out. The second in my top 10 of favorite things to do in Malaga City is actually the roof of the cathedral. So I haven't put the cathedral itself on this list because I do like it. It is a beautiful cathedral on the inside, definitely on the outside. But it's not super different to other cathedrals I've seen in Spain, and the entrance fee is kind of high if you're not a resident. If you're a resident, it's free. You can just walk on in, show your residency card. But if you are a tourist and you're coming here, then that's why I didn't include it on the list. If you're super into cathedrals, if that's your thing, do go to it. It is beautiful. But I picked the rooftop of the cathedral because it's that much more of a unique experience. I had never been, I think, to the roof of a cathedral, and certainly like I've never seen a roof of a cathedral that looks like this. So you have to go with a tour. You can only go with a tour. Again, I'll link it below. I can't remember how much it was. It was something like €10, €12, something like that per person. Not crazy. And you get a specific slot. There's only so many available per day. Oh, I'm getting a notification, 4 p.m. volleyball. Yes, I will be late to that. You guys are more important for the moment. They can set up the net themselves. Anyway, I feel like I say anyway a lot. It's like my word of the day. You pay the money, you get the slot, you arrive at the cathedral and you're ushered into like a side door. You go around a garden and you wait another little bit, and then they bring you up all these steps. You can see some views on the way up through windows, and then there's one little mezzanine type area where you go outside for a bit, and then you go up more steps and you get out onto the rooftop of the cathedral. And it's just very surreal because there's all these things. It's called cubiertos. They're like round. It's hard to describe them without saying the word breasts because that is what they are referred to colloquially in Malaga by some people. They do, for all the world, look like loads of breasts because there are nipple-like things on the top of them. This is so bad. It's a Catholic cathedral. Anyway, they do leak as well. So I think at some point they're going to close the roof for renovations. Knowing Spain, it could be a few months that they might be closed, if not a year or two. So if it is open and available to do a tour on the roof while you're here, I think you should absolutely go for it. Do check that it's not closed though, because like I said, they are planning to close it at some point to fix the leaks. But you see all these domes. That's the PC correct word, right? Domes. And I'd say maybe at least 10 to 20 domes, I would say. And it's just a very surreal experience to see them. And also you're surrounded by much the same view you had from the rooftop of the Palacio, but slightly lower, and the bell tower is much closer. So you do also have a 360 view of Antonio Banderas's penthouse. Again, not going to give you details of where that is. And you see all around, you know, the Gibralfaro, the mountain, the city, the sea, and the bell tower itself, which is probably the most photogenic part of Malaga City. Certainly the most recognizable, because you will probably take photos of the cathedral from ground level, from the Alcazaba, from the rooftop of the Palacio Marriott, and also from the rooftop of the cathedral itself. So it's quite iconic. There's a story behind it. It is called La Mancha. I'm probably going to butcher this story, but La Mancha means the one-armed lady, and it's because the cathedral was originally in the plans supposed to have 2 bell towers. There's only one, and the other one remains unfinished, which you can see. There are many different legends, I guess is maybe the right word, about why it isn't finished. There's some myths about like a dragon. I think they just ran out of money. And then there was a campaign, very briefly, there was a campaign to finish the construction, but they didn't for one reason or another. some people say it was because they gave taxes to a different country for something else. I'm not going to get into it. It's a whole thing. And some people say that it's because the fact that it is unfinished has become like a thing now, and they don't want it to be finished because it's like a unique thing, you know? It's like Frida Kahlo without her unibrow, you know? It's a defining characteristic, I think, of the cathedral now. At least that's how I like to think of it, because it is like a quirky story, and it's fun to see it unfinished for whatever reason. Without further ado, that brings us to the number one thing that I like to do in Malaga City, and that is climbing to the top of the Mirador de Gibralfaro. Now, the Gibralfaro is something I've mentioned a few times in this podcast already, and it is a mountain in the city. It's not pinpoint in the center, but like it is in the city center, basically. And you can climb up it quite easily, you know. I mean, if you're ill or you're in a wheelchair or you're, you know, very much not able for it, then of course don't. But if you're relatively fit and able, then you can definitely do it. I mean, if you're a little less fit, then you can also just go up slowly, stop every so often, you know. It's not like a traditional hike. There's pavement the whole way, there's steps. You go through some really lush like greenery. You see some of the stray cats, which they're living in the area. You see like these beautiful parakeets that are green, that are chirping around. And then you get to the walls of the castle. I have not put the castle on this list because if you're super, super into castles, then you might want to go. But there's an entrance fee and stuff, and it's not like, it didn't blow me away. So I think the best thing is to climb up to the entrance of where the castle is, not go to the castle, and actually just go to the viewpoint and see the viewpoint for free. It is very romantic. It is where a lot of people in Spain go for dates to watch the sunset, which is probably the most busy time to do this hike. I say hike. I mean, it's not much of a hike. I don't know, maybe like 20 minutes from city center to the top you would make it in. You can also continue on. There's like 3 different viewpoints. The first one is the most touristy because it's closer to the city and, you know, it's most easily accessible. It's the first one. But you can go a bit further and see the second and the third one. They won't be as busy. And yeah, that's pretty much it, to be honest. I hope you've enjoyed this episode all about Malaga City. Let me know if you think I left anything out. One final thing. Not only were those the things that I say to do, but there are a few things that maybe you shouldn't do, or maybe not shouldn't do, but maybe don't prioritize. I've already mentioned the castle, you know, going to the Mirador instead of going into the castle. I haven't mentioned the Picasso Museum. That's not on the list because the queues basically are insane. The museum itself I've been to twice. It is beautiful. I think it is also free on a Sunday evening. However, it doesn't matter what time of day you go, what day itself it is, whether it's like low season, winter, Monday, 10 a.m., there's always a queue for the Picasso Museum. Rightly so. It's full of, like, it's only got Picassos in it, I think. Maybe every so often they might bring like a different additional exhibit, but mostly it's all just Picasso stuff. And it is really cool to see, but I don't know if it's worth it because the lines are just so crazy. I've heard people waiting in line for hours just to get into this one museum. I don't think it's worth it. If you're like an art student or you're super into Picasso, again, it's different. But for the anybody just like me wants to go and see the city, walk around, see the most beautiful things, have a great time, I wouldn't be wasting your time in a queue, especially not for hours on end. That's just my opinion. It is a good museum. Queue's not worth it. The bus tour, you'll see a few bus tours going around. You can see everything in Malaga by walking. I really don't think you need one of these hop on, hop off bus tours. If you're like challenged in terms of maybe you have an injury and you can't walk so far, maybe then it's for you. Anyone else, I would say just walk everywhere. It's very, you'll see all the main things you want to see pretty easily by foot. The boat trips. There are a lot of boat trips that go from Way Uno around the harbour. They're cool to do. You can get a group on, actually. So it's not even that, expensive. So I would say if you really do love boats and you just want to while away an afternoon, be on the water for, I think, is it an hour? An hour and a half. And it's not that expensive, then fair enough, do it. But it's not amazing. Like you literally go out of the harbour, you go around where the Malaga beach would be, and then you just go back. You don't really go anywhere. Some of them have like a glass of champagne included. So I don't know. But I wouldn't prioritize it if you have a limited time in the city. Yeah, I think that's pretty much sums up everything. And do let me know if you think of anything else you think I should put on the list or put off the list. Obviously, this podcast is recorded now, but I can include your suggestions in any subsequent blog post or anything like that. Yeah, I'm going to go and play volleyball now because I'm going to be absolutely killed for being late as it is. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.